Well, okay, why don't you say a bracha on the Hallel? Why don't you say a full bracha? I mean, say full Hallel, say a bracha on it on the 7th day of Pesach. Why don't you, Levi?
I don't know.
You really don't know? So that's your ignorance speaking. I've given you the answer. If you can find a different answer, enlighten me.
Look, just because the rabbis decide that we say a bracha or don't say a bracha on the 7th day of Pesach doesn't really affect what happened in the Torah when Moses and the Israelites celebrate and dance.
Okay,
and
you know what?
Big time when the Egyptians.
You're learning Torah like a Christian again. You're learning it. You're reading the written Torah, and you are treating it like this is Judaism. That is not learning. You learn the Talmud. The Talmud. The Talmud is the oral Torah. We are a Talmudic religion. The Torah tells us in the Talmud, do not rejoice over the downfall of your enemies. And it doesn't make up this crap about, oh, people personally in your life. It doesn't say that. That's what Dennis Prager says. He's a Reform rabbi. His opinion is got nothing to do with Judaism.
He's not a rabbi.
Good. He's Reform.
Okay,
whatever. He's a nobody.
He's not a rabbi.
He's a nothing.
Reform.
And he doesn't represent Judaism. Okay?
Okay, let's keep going with the show.
All right, let's keep going with the show. Oh, D-Medic's in the room. Hey, D-Medic, how's it going? All right, so I got all that off my chest. All right. Now, this week's Parsha talks a lot about agriculture, doesn't it?
Yes.
You want to talk about agriculture?
Sure.
What's this week's Parsha?
Behar.
Joey Behar. That's what this week's church is about. It's about
Leviticus.
a loudmouth yenta. Yeah?
Leviticus chapter 25.
Okay, so it's Behar. And what's in it this week that talks about agriculture? Tell us what it says about agriculture.
Well, it's got a lot on Shemitah, which is the 7th year you're supposed to rest the land. So you can walk the land for 6 years, and then you're supposed to let it rest.
Okay. So you want to bring up your notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's called in the English the sabbatical year of rest for the land. Hebrew is called Shemitah.
Okay.
Which, according to some perspectives, this law has been rarely observed in Jewish history. For instance, in 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 21, says, all these bad things are going to happen because the Jews have not been practicing.
Rashi explains it. Can I jump in on that?
Please.
Okay, Rashi explains that what you're talking about in Chronicles, again, that's what the written Torah says. It blows things out of proportion, right? It means that they were following Shemitah. I'm going to say, let's say like 99% of the Jews were following Shemitah. But some people weren't following it specifically, and they were like cheating a little bit on it. And because of that, the Torah tells us that one of the reasons why the first Beis Hamikdash fell, right, and there was an exile, was a punishment for the fact that we didn't keep Shemitah. It's just like when they said, like, one of the reasons why the Beis Hamikdash fell is because there was so much sinus chinam,
Right.
What do you call
Needless hatred.
Needless hatred. It doesn't mean that everybody was involved in needless, or they said because of Avodah Zorah. It doesn't mean that everybody practiced idolatry. It means that one or two people did that, and the Torah credits as if every Jew followed that. So it's not that the Jews didn't follow Shemitah. It's that one or two Jews out of several million didn't follow it completely. And because of that, God says, Rashi brings down that God says that, oh, it's as if all of you didn't follow it. So, but the truth is that everyone did, like 99% of the Jews followed Shemitah, and we've been following.
How do you know?
Because Rashi says so.
Rashi wasn't a historian.
He learned it from his rabbi, who learned it from his rabbi, who learned it from his rabbi all the way back to Mount Sinai. That this is the generation after generation, this is our Masorah. And our Masorah is that the Jews have always kept Shemitah. And you know what's interesting? We've kept it since Rashi. It's still going on today.
Well, some Jews keep it, not the majority of Jews.
Well, Jews living in Eretz Israel, it only applies there.
Yeah, not the majority of Jews living in Eretz Israel keep it. Only a tiny proportion of them keep it.
What are you talking about?
Most Jews in the land of Israel do not keep Shemitah.
Well, most Jews living in Israel don't keep Shabbos. That's not proof. I'm talking about the Jews who follow Torah.
Okay, so you got the Haredim who keep Shemitah, and the religious Zionists, some do, some don't.
And okay, fine, whatever. But there's always been there has always been. I'm not making. Liberal World Savior is wrong. Says Ravs is making a halachic statement from a medrash. No, I'm making a halachic statement from the Shulchan Aruch, because the Shulchan Aruch itself, when it talks about the laws of Pesach, and do you say Hallel? It says you say a half Hallel. You don't say the full bracha on the seventh day, and the reason is because you don't sing a full song on a day when God's creatures were destroyed. That's not a.
But every day God's creatures are destroyed.
But the reason we're singing it is because of that day. That's the seventh day of Pesach. Okay. Now, so that's actually Shulchan Aruch. So you have a question of why is the Shulchan Aruch quoting a medrash? You take that up with the Shulchan Aruch. Don't take that up with Ravs. What was I saying here? Okay, so.
There have always been Jews in the land.
There's always been Jews. Always, and it goes way back. You know, there's records of them keeping it in the late 1880s, when the Jews started arriving from Europe down to Eretz Israel, and the whole Zionist issue took place. They came into contact with Jews who were living there already, and they were the ones who said, "This is the calendar, and this is how it's going." You know, and it's been going on. We know for a fact it's been going on since then. I mean, it's recorded which years or Shemitah going all the way back to the 1880s from people who didn't live in Eretz Israel. But the people who lived there, and there's been people there the whole time for the last 2,000 years. They've been keeping it. That thing has been kept by at least somebody from the time that we walked into Eretz Israel the first time, which was with Joshua. Okay, go ahead.
So then the Sabbath of Sabbaths, as far as land use goes, is the Jubilee year, which is the year of proclaimed liberty throughout the land, which I believe is found on the Liberty Bell, which is a big deal to the founders of the United States. So the Jubilee year, the year of freedom, happens every 50 years when all land must return to its original owners and all Israelite slaves are set free. And so this was a particularly difficult law to observe.
Well, it's contingent on something. The Jubilee, which is called the Yovel, is only kept when all of the Jews, when the Jews are all living in Eretz Israel according to tribes. So it's not enough that everybody moves back into Eretz Israel. Like if me and you went and moved and we just lived in like Yerushalayim, that's not good enough. Even if all the Jews moved to Yerushalayim, it's not going to help. Because it's got to be that the people from like the Shevet Yehuda are living in Yehuda, and the people from the tribe of Naphtali are living in the land of Naphtali. That's not going to take place again until Mashiach comes. So the Yovel's done. It was going on every 50 years, like you said, until the exile when
586 BCE.
How do you know these numbers like that?
I know history.
Until the exile that took place, who started
Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar came and chased everybody out, and that was the end. We haven't kept Jubilee since, because it's never been that the Jews were living there according to the tribes. Because even when they came back 70 years later, when a lot of people came back, they didn't go to where their tribe was. They just moved to general areas.
And 10 of the tribes disappeared.
That's another problem. So
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah,
It's like, oh.
Yeah. So there's that. So we haven't kept it since, when was it? 586
BCE.
So basically 2,600 years ago we haven't kept Jubilee, and we're not going to keep it again until Mashiach comes because of that contingency on it. Okay, go ahead.
So the Torah presumes a system of private property. So that's one of the underpinnings to the Yovel. Is that what it's called?
Yovel. Yovel, like Jubilee. Okay.
So private property is a foundational part of the Torah view on life. I think one of the reasons the Torah has this legislation is it does not want a permanent upper class and a permanent underclass. So there are just a few.
What are you, like a communist now? You're like a Che Guevara type with the sunglasses? Is that what's going on?
Just sharing some thoughts.
Spread the wealth, redistribution.
Well, it doesn't seem to want doesn't want to have just a few landowners, which is what would happen if you didn't have this law. Naturally, Like if everyone tomorrow was given equal amounts of wealth,
Okay.
like within a few